corner as the white Terran. Upper right-hand corner we have Artosis starting as the orange Terran, and it is going to be on Colosseum 2, which at first glance you may think, okay, this is a map that's going to favor Artosis. Artosis has that really, well, his bread and butter, not that he's employed it thus far, has been that really safe style. He's got a very easy to take third expansion. So, being that TVT is one of those strong matchups for him and playing super safe works really well in Colosseum, he should take the matchup against Nyoken. Unfortunately, though, I think Nyoken's style is particularly well suited against Artosis' standard style. Nyoken really likes playing that aggressive, basically punish, push attack while he's simultaneously macroing up. And this is one of those maps that really favors that style of play. I think he's extremely comfortable on it, and I think he really enjoys this map in particular. I've seen him play very well on this. I wouldn't be surprised if he employed an early vulture drop, although that's a bit risky and a bit non-standard, I would say, on this map. I've seen him employ some early vulture harass, some really fast vulture speed with mines kind of play, and it really paid off for him. I think it really caught his opponent off guard. I'm kind of curious of whether we're going to see that again or not. But nevertheless, I'm going to favor Nyoken in this matchup just because of the map, just because I think his style stacks up really well against Artosis. It looks like he is just going to go for a standard, actually leaving his front door open, which surprises me a little bit here, but he's just going to put down his barracks, maybe wanting greater mobility in the future, and sending out an SCV scout a little bit earlier than Artosis here. We'll see when he decides to send out that SCV scout. Artosis delaying a bit on his barracks. It looks like he's going to build it to this northern edge. Kind of curious about that. Maybe he's hoping that Nyoken will scout him sooner rather than later, and as a result will be able to throw him off. Maybe make him think he's cheesing or something like that, placing that supply depot along that back line. Looks like Nyoken is thinking about cheese a little bit because he's got kind of a wily pattern here with this SCV. Wants to make sure he's not getting hit out here in the middle of the field. He's putting up his gas. So actually this could work out for Artosis basically. He's going to be sending out a later scout. He's going to be sending out a much later scout than Nyoken, which is going to give him just a little boost of economy, and on top of that he's going to be seeing Nyoken's base a little bit later, and it's very hard with just a few troops out into the mid game to get a look inside the base. So I think Artosis might end up getting that SCV scout in later, still seeing all the information he wants, and maybe not even having to worry about getting pummeled. It depends, I guess, on how many Marines that are going to be produced. Usually this isn't one of those maps where you want to produce a ton of Marines, because usually you want to produce Marines when you're playing a little bit safer, when you're playing a little bit more defensively, or when you can apply early pressure. Because the distances on this map, you really want to kind of skimp on that and save it more for command centers. Now, it looks like Artosis bringing all SCVs off gas after he's producing that first factory, so really thinking about transitioning into a single factory into an expansion build. Nyoken kind of getting a good visual on that. Right now, Artosis just checking out that upper left-hand corner. He's sending his scout around. Looks like Nyoken did just produce that single Marine and counter from there. It's going to be a while before Artosis can really kick that SCV scout out of his base, though. Nyoken needs to be careful, though. He's getting really aggressive with this SCV. It looks like he's done significant damage, not able to get a kill, which is actually going to hurt because he's already taken 15 damage. Looks like he's going to lose his SCV scout right there. A little bit in the dark, and just now, wow, this is really paying off well for Artosis, actually. Going to be able to move in. See, first of all, no SCVs on gas, or at least coming back to gas. It's going to be a while before that Vulture's out to really kill him, and he's going to be able to wander up and see that it's one factory into expansion for Nyoken as well. Although, maybe Nyoken will be able to turn this advantage into a disadvantage. That is what I would say his absolute forte is basically showing his opponent some information like this, letting that SCV scout in the base, killing it, and then completely changing directions with what he was doing. Completely mixing it up, basically luring his opponent into one reaction and then turn around with another reaction. It looks like Artosis pushing forward to be aggressive, and it's already lifted that barracks up to get that spot in. Looks like Nyoken also lifted that barracks up, starting to push it forward. Second factory being placed for Artosis, same for Nyoken. This is actually going to be a pretty important battle right here for the two players. Specifically for Nyoken, he really needs to make sure he comes out with a greater troop count once these guys come into the battle, because if he does not, that's going to open up either a Vulture, probably not a Marine. I doubt the Marine would be the last unit alive. But basically you're going to have one unit kind of out in the field. If Artosis wins, he might be able to run up, get a quick SCV kill. Looks like an SCV actually coming off the line just for that purpose, to try to provide a little bit of defense. But that actually could be the equivalent losses that Artosis was looking for. Marine already dead. It looks like a nice kill there, but yeah, SCV already killed in the field, so a little bit of a loss there for Nyoken early. But he is going to be able to at least hold his front door, which it looks like is going to be a simultaneous kill between these two Vultures. Going to be able, and so fortunately not going to go into the bonus here, but losing that single SCV, so a little bit of a win there for Artosis early. And Artosis transferring a lot of SCVs here to his secondary, so saturating it rather well, rather early, and putting down a third factory right off the bat, where it looks like it looks like Nyoken actually producing a gun with the machine shop instead is kind of delaying on that additional factory and putting down his gas, so got to push tech a different direction. So 3 factories, maybe thinking about producing some quick vultures, some speed, to kind of follow this up. For whatever reason, destroying that sunken colony, maybe wanting a front door sealed a little bit sooner than later, but this barracks is going to float up, it's going to see those 3 factories of Artosis's, and Artosis is actually putting down his armory and his academy as well. So it looks like, wants to make sure he keeps an eye on what Nyoken's doing first of all, and also wants to make sure that he can either, building Goliath, can transition perhaps into some early pressure neutralized mines early on. And I think this might be a response directly to that that build I've seen Nyoken do in the past, where he gets really aggressive with mines early, a little bit concerned about that, kind of reacting to that, getting some very heavy anti-mine units, some anti-vulture units. It looks like 4 vultures already on the field with a single siege tank just kind of hanging out on the high ground there. And pretty good saturation here for Nyoken as well. Looks like economically just about the same. Also, additionally, this will be a pretty big bonus for Artosis if he can take this barracks out with these Goliaths. I'm not sure if this was part of his plan, but if he can take this out early, that's going to basically limit Nyoken's ability to kind of transition tech. He's going to want to either plant a bunch of factories now and be forced to, and it doesn't look like he did plant any additional factories, or it looks like Nyoken actually doing the same with the single Goliath, or it's going to basically be the case if as soon as he wants to produce additional factories in the future, he's going to have to plant down an additional barracks. And now the 3 vultures and 3 Goliaths moving to the front, and honestly, between the four vultures, the single tank, and the units that are going to be produced, nice actually build here by Nyoken. Nyoken actually landing this barracks to block off that tank. As soon as these units are coming out, they're actually getting blocked off by this barracks. Honestly, though, I'm not sure that's going to work out in time. He's still going to end up losing that barracks, and I don't think he's going to get any sort of significant advantage, particularly the siege tank here in the mix. So losing his barracks, a little bit clever, did pull a couple SCVs off the line as a result. But between the siege tanks here at the upper position, Artosis is not going to be able to get a lot accomplished. And he actually invested pretty heavily in Goliaths here early, so maybe hoping to go against a little more of a vulture-heavy force. Unfortunately, that's not what he's in fact facing. Now getting another command center up, wants to take that early economically, getting a starport up of his own very early on, so maybe thinking about basically playing Nyoken style against him, getting aggressive, going with some vulture drops, a couple idle SCVs, which will actually hurt him a lot, because where he was able to get a couple SCV kills in there earlier, he's kind of basically losing that potential mining time right there between those 2 SCVs, just kind of naturally on the field. Now, Nyoken realizing he has the much better unit combination, starting to press forward. Artosis hiding a vulture here in that upper right-hand corner. Looks like he's hiding it in the bottom right, one for scouting purposes, but also maybe to sneak it in. Artosis just trying to create a bit of delay here while these tanks are pushing in so he can get some tanks out of his own. I don't even think he has siege tech upgraded. It looks like he does have siege tech. Nyoken able to scout up again. I think he knows that Whirling is in fact siege tech, and holding up a little bit late here actually, for whatever reason, diverting to the north here, maybe thinking about getting some territory for an additional base rather quickly, or just trying to take an odd route around to avoid comsat altogether. So he's already taking this third, knowing that he is much better unit composition to work against this. Siege tank taking out quite a few Goliaths right there. You can see just the difference. Once those tanks siege up and take an attack, more tanks piling on here. It looks like we've got 3 machine shops down here for Nyoken. I've seen him do this in the past. And if he can actually, let's see if he's getting a starport down. Yeah, adding that starport so he can actually produce probably some cloak wraiths and kind of go in for that combination spot attack, which I've seen him do in the past, and it's worked out rather well. Has some siege tanks on the high ground. The Goliath's able to get in the mix though, and looks like he's actually going to win this fight and have more tanks pouring out. That's going to delay Artosis on his secondary. This is a big win for Nyoken early, able to run in with these Goliaths, keep these troops back. More tanks kind of coming here to the south. Looks like we have some SCVs actually flooding. Not quite sure what they're doing out in the field. Maybe hoping to get an early expansion up, but some Goliaths running up, and let's see, Nyoken actually has enough tanks where he can keep several of them unsieged to really neutralize that drop, so he's not going to be able to take that expansion. Let's see if he goes around now that those tanks are in siege position. Let's see if Nyoken also supplements with more tanks underneath to make sure that they essentially can deal with any of those Goliaths being dropped. So going to that dropship actually hurting him a little bit because he's a much smaller troop count to deal with this counterattack. So now Nyoken able to take a base where Artosis is not, to get a solid economic advantage. It looks like these SCVs in position to take a base where they weren't looking for. A nice unsiege, quick re-siege to deal with some of these Goliaths and these tanks piling in. Quickly able to re-siege Artosis with a nice pressure attack, forcing Nyoken to siege and unsiege in succession. As a result, he's going to be able to clean it up with it looks like a smaller attack force, just 3 tanks, a couple Goliaths, some really nice micro there all together. He's going to be able to take his expansion, but still falling economically behind. Not much of an army left, though. Actually, no, I take it back. A sizable army left, and a dropship on Artosis, on Nyoken's side alone. And with the few troops that Nyoken has to field right now, that Artosis has to field right now. He has a lot of dropships, but not a lot of troops in them. He's going to have a hard time against any sort of combination attack from Nyoken. If Nyoken sends 2 siege tanks up to this upper ridge and then decides to attack at another position, essentially Artosis isn't really going to have a lot to kind of counter and to fight that off with, particularly, and it looks like that is going to happen. That is what we're going to see out in the field, sieging on the lower path and also going to the north. And let's see how Artosis decides to respond to this. He's losing yet again another base. Artosis still falling behind economically. Nyoken able to hold it, and he's going to try to sneak a base to try to catch up in this match under that corner. And let's see if Nyoken kind of scouts that or is able to deal with it. Some dropships coming in to take care of this. To the south, more dropships actually piling in. Doesn't look like they have really anything in it, but that is going to